What's going on there, guys? So I finished watching the Game Awards the other night on Thursday night. I thought it was a good show, and after the Game Awards, it got me thinking about, what are my most anticipated games that will be releasing for 2025 and beyond. So in terms of my most anticipated games and the games I want to talk about for this video, I just want it to be games that have been officially announced and we have a little bit of information behind, and maybe they have a trailer or two. So any games that are, just speculation or rumors that they're in development, I don't want to talk about those quite yet, just because, it's not official till, the developer or publisher says so, in my eyes. So I just want to, kind of set some boundaries for what games would make my top 5 list of my most anticipated games of 2025, and that was kind of a mouthful there. And I should say for 2025 and beyond, because there is a game that probably will not be making 2025. But I want to just start off this video just talking about a few honorable mentions that I thought about putting in my top 5 but aren't quite there, at least at the moment. And I should say, I may make this video and completely forget about a game that I was looking forward to, because there are a good number of games that I'm looking forward to now. There's been a lot of game announcements, and we've gotten a lot of new trailers for games this year. But I want to start off with my honorable mentions. Alright, so just going quickly through these honorable mentions. I first want to talk about Judas, and I played Ken Levine's BioShock back in, I want to say, either 2018 or 2019 for the very first time. I will probably have to go back to that game at some point, because when I played it in easy mode, which I was going through this weird phase at the time where I just wanted to get through games as fast as possible, play them on easy. But I kind of regret that, and I think that kind of sucked me out of the experience a lot. And I know BioShock is regarded by many as one of the great games of all time, and I just watched, before recording this video, a good interview with Ken Levine and Ryan McCaffrey of IGN, and they were showing gameplay, and I haven't seen too much of Judas, honestly. I saw the launch trailer whenever that was, a couple of years ago. I think it was at the Game Awards, but I love the art style. I'm digging the art style. The gameplay systems, they look complex and intriguing, but I don't really know too much about Judas, and I kind of want to keep it that way. But it's definitely piqued my interest, and this could be a game that I look back and it's wow, I didn't put this in my top 5 most anticipated games. But I feel like BioShock, and I didn't play BioShock 2 or BioShock Infinite, I feel like these games can appeal to me. I think when I played BioShock 1 remastered on the PS4 back in, it was sometime around 2017 to 2019, I don't think I was in the right headspace, and I don't think I played it in the best way, is what I will say. But Judas, the art style, the gameplay, and what the environmental storytelling that BioShock was known for is, that has me intrigued about this game, and it's going to be coming out next year. Okay, so for the next honorable mention, this is kind of funny. It's Elder Scrolls 6, and the reason why I say this is funny is because I want to say back in late 2018 or early 2019, I'm pretty sure it was late 2018, one of my first videos I ever made on this channel was my top 5 most anticipated games at that time, and Elder Scrolls 6 made that list. And here we are in late 2024. The game still hasn't released, and we really haven't got any new information about it. We got this very brief teaser trailer, I think at E3 2018, and it didn't really show anything. It was just just a title screen. It just showed the mountains and the vista, the big environment of wherever Elder Scrolls 6 will take place. But I know that there's been a lot of rumors about Elder Scrolls 6, and the reason why it's a highly anticipated game is because it's gonna be the next Elder Scrolls game. The last one was Skyrim, and Skyrim is, I would say, still one of my favorite video games of all time, and one of my favorite open world games of all time. I put many hours into that game, probably 150 plus hours back on PS3, and I know We're not sure at this point if Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be on PS5. I'm fairly confident it will be, because of course, you know, Microsoft owns Bethesda now, which makes Elder Scrolls 6. And certain Xbox games have been coming over to the PlayStation platform. And if this is your first time watching my channel, or you haven't watched some of my recent videos, I'm just a one platform guy. I just have my PS5 over here. I have owned an Xbox Series S and X before, and the Switch, but I've since sold those just because I just want to be on one platform. So yeah, I'm confident Elder Scrolls 6 will be on PS5 eventually. I don't think it'll launch on the same date as Xbox and PC, but I just think Elder Scrolls it's already kind of established itself a little bit on PlayStation. Yeah, sure, it's more known for being a PC and Xbox game, but I think Microsoft will port it, and I think Elder Scrolls 6 would be in my top 5 if Starfield wasn't a disappointment for me. That was the last game I played on my Xbox before selling it. I got it. So I had the Xbox Series X, I want to say in 2021, and then I sold it, and then Starfield was coming out, and I decided just to get an Xbox Series S to play Starfield, and maybe I would have enjoyed the experience more if I had played it on the Series X, but I don't think so. But you know, they're updating the game. It can now run at 60 FPS, and you know, they're releasing new DLCs. I know the first expansion wasn't reviewed very highly, but I played about 30 hours of Starfield, and I was a little bit underwhelmed. And I think my biggest problem with that game was the constant loading screens, and it kind of like sucked me out of it. And I loved Skyrim for just how immersive it was, and sure, there were loading screens, long loading screens, but I feel like I was constantly like menu surfing in Starfield, and it kind of just like sucked me out of the experience, and I wasn't like fully invested in like the gameplay or the story. So it kind of, I don't know, I lost interest after 30 hours. I didn't think it was a bad game, I wanted more from it. And yeah, so, but Elder Scrolls 6 I'm still looking forward to, and I can't wait to see what it looks like whenever they finally show some gameplay. So these next few honorable mentions I want to talk about, I don't know a ton about, but I'm still, you know, intrigued and looking forward to playing them when they ever come out. So I would want to talk about Control 2 first, and I loved Control 1 on the PS4 when it came out in 2019. That was my first Remedy game that I ever played. I really loved the gameplay of that game, and just the vibes, the atmosphere. The story was intriguing, even though it was kind of hard to understand, and there was a lot of it felt a little convoluted, but I really dug the story, the vibes I got from it, and just existing in that game was it was a vibe. That game was definitely a vibe, like Silent Hill 2. And another anticipated game for me, on honorable mention, Metal Gear Solid 3, or Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater? I think that's the full name of the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. So I played the original Metal Gear Solid 1, the PS5 port back earlier this year. I got by it, and that was a game I had in my backlog for a long time. I never played the original. First exposure to Metal Gear Solid, and I enjoyed it. And I thought, you know, even though the game felt a little dated, I mean, keep in mind it's a 1998 game, I still found enjoyment in the gameplay, and the story was definitely interesting and has some memorable characters to it. But I think I could go and play Metal Gear Solid 2, the port on PS5, but I haven't done that quite yet, and probably eventually I'll do it. But I think for my next Metal Gear Solid experience, I'm just gonna wait till the third game comes out with the remake, because apparently that game takes place before even Metal Gear Solid 1. It's the earliest game in the series. It's like, I think it's like Metal Gear Solid 3, and then they have all sorts of different time periods for each game. And Metal Gear Solid 3, they're remaking it first because it takes place in their earliest timeline in the Metal Gear Solid story. But I wonder if Konami's planning to remake all the Metal Gear Solid games. but not in, you know, the original order that they released. I don't know, but from the little I've seen of the Metal Gear Solid 3 gameplay, it looks really impressive, and I'm looking forward to trying it out, you know, trying out a modern Metal Gear Solid and seeing what they can do. So yeah. All right, my last honorable mention is Insomniac's Wolverine, which I know Insomniac had a massive leak. I believe it was either this year or last year, data leak. It revealed a lot of information, both about their games and, fortunately, personal information. You know, that should be private about some of the employees, which, you know, that's a bad thing to see. But there was a lot of things leaked about Wolverine in the story and, I guess, gameplay. I haven't seen anything, and please don't tell me anything if you saw the leaks and spoil it, because that's you'd just be a dick if you did that. But I love Insomniac. I mean, I've always been a fan of theirs. As you can see behind me, I got a Spyro poster here. Now this is for the Reunited trilogy, which I know Insomniac didn't make, but you know, they were remakes of the original 3 games that Insomniac made back on the PS1, and I loved Spyro the Dragon, and I would say Spyro the Dragon is one of the most influential games I've ever played. I mean, that's one of the earliest console games I can remember playing and really digging, and I think Spyro the Dragon is really what got me into console gaming back in the day. But I played Ratchet and Clank through the years. I played a few entries of those. I loved the PS5, the Rift Apart, and I played all 3 of the Spider-Mans. But I think I'm a little Spider-Man fatigued at this point, and I'm ready for something different. Now, this is different, and it's still superhero based, but you know, it's different. It's different than Spider-Man, and I never actually watched a Wolverine movie. I'm not like the biggest like superhero movie fan, I'm a superhero guy in general. I have a fun time playing Spider-Man and watching some of the Marvel movies, but I'm not like a Marvel super fan by any means, or any superhero fan. Yeah, Wolverine's gonna looks more gritty than a Spider-Man, but it's gonna be a superhero game, and I bet there'll probably be some connection between Wolverine's universe and the Spider-Man universe. I bet Insomniac is trying to create their own like Marvel gaming universe, if you want to call it that. But I really don't know really anything about Wolverine. Like, we got the reveal trailer for Wolverine. Was that in 2021? It was just a quick teaser, and apparently the game may be coming out next year, but nothing is confirmed. And there is some uncertainty with that game. I know people were negative towards the leaks, which I don't know what they showed and what people are in uproar about, and I don't want to know, frankly. But was it the lead director? I believe the lead director of Wolverine left the project, which is probably not a good sign. So I do wonder if there may be changing some things about the game, and maybe internally they've delayed it and they haven't announced it yet, so maybe it's not gonna be a 2025 game, but we'll see. I still have faith in Insomniac. They're still one of my favorite developers, and I look forward to whatever they make next, even if it's Wolverine, Spider-Man 3, Ratchet and Clank, and maybe something different from them besides any of those 3 games. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Now let's move into the meat and potatoes of this video, the top 5 most anticipated games for 2025 and beyond. So before we get into my top 5 most anticipated games, I did want to add one more anticipated game for me, and that would be Kingdom Hearts 4. So with Kingdom Hearts 3, that was one of my most anticipated games of all time, because Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 back on the PS2, released in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, I absolutely adored, and I loved those games as a kid. And at one point, those were my favorite games of all time. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I loved the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I especially loved the drive forms in Kingdom Hearts 2. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was a little bit disappointing for me. I thought the gameplay felt floaty. They got rid of certain mechanics like the drive systems that I did not agree with and I did not like. And the story was more convoluted, partly because of how many Kingdom Hearts games there had been between 2 and 3. But yeah, I waited so long for Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2006. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 came out in early 2019. So 13-year wait is quite a long time. And, I kind of want to say I outgrew Kingdom Hearts maybe a little bit. But at the same time, I say that, I can still go back to Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and enjoy the heck out of those games. But, yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 3, I just think it paled in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I don't think Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bad game by any means, and I do actually just want to go back to replay it at some point, because I've only played it that one time that it launched in 2019, whereas Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 I've played through multiple times throughout my life. But Kingdom Hearts 4, we really haven't seen too much with Kingdom Hearts 4. We got the reveal trailer a few years ago. There's some speculation there may be Star Wars in this game. There may be other Marvel stuff. I don't know if that's going to be like an uncanny valley, having those, live action series in an animated, a game that kind of has an animated art style to it, cartoon art style. But then again, we had Pirates of the Caribbean back in Kingdom Hearts 2, and they made that work. And I actually liked the Pirates of the Caribbean worlds back in Kingdom Hearts 2. So yeah, we don't really know much about Kingdom Hearts 4. I'm still gonna play it, even though I'm not nearly the fan of Kingdom Hearts that I once was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 4 whenever it does come out. I don't think it'll be coming out in 2025, maybe 2026, but we'll see. So yeah, that's another highly anticipated game for me. Okay, so my 5th most anticipated game as of right now is technically a game that's already been released, but has yet to release on PlayStation 5. And that game is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, as of the time I'm recording this video, I have never played, or actually I should say I've never watched an Indiana Jones movie. And I know the original trilogy is regarded as one of the, best action adventure movie series of all time. And I'm not sure if I want to watch the original 3 movies before I play the game. I think it probably would make sense to, and I do think I would enjoy the Indiana Jones original trilogy. And I know they made a 4th and a 5th movie, but a lot of people say those aren't good movies, and you really should just watch the original trilogy, because those are what made Indiana Jones great. But part of me is thinking, like, maybe I want my first exposure in Indiana Jones be in a video game, and maybe that could be kind of interesting, playing as someone who doesn't know anything about Indiana Jones, and maybe that could really like get me into the Indiana Jones universe, and then maybe watch the movies. But I don't know, I think it would probably make sense to watch the movies first, because there's probably gonna be a lot of references to the movies that may be lost on me if I don't watch the movies beforehand. But with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the reason why I'm looking forward to this is just, watching the trailers, watching the gameplay. I really like what I see from the gameplay, and obviously it's gonna be a very cinematic game because it's based on a movie franchise, and it looks like a very cool interactive movie. And I'm a very huge Uncharted fan, so, and I know Indiana Jones inspired Tomb Raider, it inspired Uncharted, and so I dig these types of stories, the action adventure, treasure hunting adventure, I guess you could call it. But I like that they're going in a slightly different direction than a Tomb Raider and Uncharted. I know some people don't like the fact that this game is first person. I actually think that's interesting, because it's it's a different take. If this game was third person, I'm sure, yeah, it would be cool, a cool experience. I would still be interested to play it. It's just, this feels slightly different. It's not, you know, it's not, oh, this is more Tomb Raider, this is more Uncharted. It's trying to be something a little bit different in terms of its gameplay. And I'm actually just looking at a trailer right now on one of my computer screens. But yeah, I think the graphics look good. The gameplay looks enticing. I'll be curious to see how I like all the puzzles. I know there's gonna be a lot of puzzles in this game. I haven't watched too much of people playing through the game, but I know a lot of people are digging this game, and I believe it has like a 87 on Metacritic, which is really good. So I'm very much looking forward to getting into the Indiana Jones universe in 2025. And yeah, I'll be curious to see how this one lands. I think I will enjoy this, but we'll see, you know. Yeah, the gameplay just sold me on it, and just the trailers, and you know, just I love treasure hunting adventures. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle coming in at number 5. Okay, so my number 4 most anticipated game as of right now is Ghost of Yotei. And with the prior game, Ghost of Tsushima, that was one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 4. It's one of my favorite open world games of all time now. I loved the art style of that game. I loved the vibes. I loved the music, roaming around on your horse, you know, the beautiful scenery of all the flower petals flowing in the air, or the leaves floating in the air, and the combat was great, and the different stances. The story was interesting, and I liked the presentation style of it. It was different, and for someone who hadn't really watched any samurai movies or experienced anything like that before, it was definitely a breath of fresh air to experience that game. And yeah, with Ghost of Yotei, I'm very much looking forward to this sequel. It's set almost 400 years after Ghost of Tsushima, with a new character, and I believe it's not. So the prior protagonist was Jin Sakai, which he was a great character in Ghost of Tsushima. So with Ghost of Yotei, the protagonist is, I may be mispronouncing this, it's Atsu. And so we don't know too much of Ghost of Yotei. It was just announced a few months ago, and they had a reveal trailer at the end of one of Sony's State of Plays. But it was very much a game I was looking forward to before they announced it, because I knew we would be getting Ghost of Tsushima follow-up. And I believe Ghost of Tsushima sold very well. I think it sold over 10 million copies. And Sucker Punch, the developer, I've been a fan of since Infamous. That was my first exposure to Sucker Punch back in the day, was the Infamous series. And I know they made Sly Cooper before that, and I played a little bit of Sly Cooper earlier this year, which I thought was all right. I couldn't really get fully invested in it, but I may go back at some point to play through the original trilogy. So in this trailer, they showed Atsu. You know, obviously she's a samurai, but they also showed that she had, it looked like some sort of like musket. So it looks like firearms will play a role in this game, in the gameplay. I'll be curious to see how Sucker Punch evolves the gameplay from the first game. And you know, this game was built from the PS5, so it's not going to be one of these PS5 cross PS4 games. So I'll be curious to see how the PS5 really makes this game look even more beautiful than Ghost of Tsushima, which I think, honestly, I think Ghost of Tsushima is one of the most beautiful art styles to any game I've ever played. And there's some speculation that we're gonna have like this wolf ally. They showed a wolf in the trailer, but there's no confirmation of that. But that would be kind of interesting if we get animal companions. And I'll be curious to see what sort of side content they have in this game. I did quite enjoy the side content in Ghost of Tsushima, and yeah, so I have faith in Sucker Punch to deliver a great follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. And you know, I'm looking forward to playing Ghost of Yotei, which we barely know anything about, but it's coming out in 2025, so I can't wait to play this. There's gonna be a few highly anticipated open world games on this list that are probably coming out in 2025, so this game and the next two games are all very close to me in anticipation level. And yeah, so Ghost of Yotei coming in at number 4, and I expect it to be another great PS5 game. Okay, so my number 3 most anticipated game as of right now is Death Stranding 2. So I believe Death Stranding, which originally released on PlayStation 4 back in 2019, is a very underrated game. I know Kojima made it, but it seems like people either loved or hated Death Stranding, and it all comes down to really the gameplay loop of delivering packages, dealing with terrain, and keeping your balance and cargo management. But I really found the gameplay loop very satisfying in Death Stranding, and it was quite a unique game, and it was very quirky and weird, and the story was a little convoluted and kind of hard to understand, but the game was beautiful. It had a great soundtrack to it. I just enjoyed existing in that world and delivering packages and acquiring new vehicles, being able to build roads, and I just really dug it. The vibes I got from it was the first Kojima game I ever played, so it was cool to finally experience a game from one of the big faces in the game industry. And yeah, I know not everyone loves Death Stranding, and maybe not everyone's looking forward to Death Stranding 2, but Death Stranding 2, just from what we've seen, we haven't really seen too much. We haven't really seen any gameplay. It's all been cinematics at this point. Of course, just like the original Death Stranding, they're gonna have a lot of Hollywood actors in it, and of course Norman Reedus is the lead, and the trailers are just balls to the wall, weird and crazy. And yeah, I'm very curious to see this game in a new environment, and what they do to evolve from the gameplay of the first game. And I think that's the reason why I loved the first Death Stranding, is that I loved the gameplay loop. It was so satisfying. I got so immersed into that game and spent a lot of hours, and it's one of the most unique gaming experiences that I've ever had. And yeah, Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei are very close for me. I don't know which one I anticipate more, but I think I anticipate Death Stranding 2 just slightly more, just because I can't wait to see what they do from a gameplay standpoint with Death Stranding 2. I think they're really gonna make it even more satisfying to play, and I think I saw somewhere they're looking to make combat more of a thing in this game, which combat was kind of lacking in Death Stranding 1, which I didn't mind, honestly. I found it very different. It was a different experience, and the graphics, the engine, it's running off Decima engine, which that's the same engine that Guerrilla uses for Horizon. And Horizon, the Horizon games are just beautiful games graphically, and the art style and the way the games run are excellent. So this game looks very high fidelity graphically, and I'm sure it's gonna run at a smooth 60 FPS, or at least I hope. There'll probably be a performance and quality mode, and yeah, I'm curious to see where this crazy story goes, and the way the gameplay evolves from the first game. But yeah, Death Stranding 2, very much looking forward to. Hasn't been confirmed for 2025. Well, actually, I take that back. Sony did release a trailer just outlining the games that are coming out next year, and they did show Death Stranding 2, so I would say Death Stranding 2 is been confirmed for 2025, but it's not, they don't have a date yet for Death Stranding 2. And I think part of the reason they don't have a date is for this next game I'm going to talk about, that is probably everyone's trying to steer clear of launching near. Let's just say that. So yeah, let's get to my number 2 game. Okay, you know what? I take it back. This next anticipated game is, it's just some small indie game that no one's really ever heard of. I'm really pulling for this developer. I don't know if they're gonna make it with this game, but obviously I'm being sarcastic, and you guys may know what I'm kind of talking about at this point, but it's Grand Theft Auto 6. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6, when that game launches, it's gonna be the biggest thing probably in the history of entertainment that launches. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 was crazy popular. I mean, every Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar game that comes out is, you know, just a massive hit. I believe Grand Theft Auto 5 is, I want to say the third biggest selling video game of all time. And I think I saw somewhere that it reached over 200 million sales. So yeah, I just did a quick Google search and it says 205 million units sold. And of course, GTA 5, there's been multiple versions released. There's been a PS3, PS4, PS5 version, but the game just continues to sell even to this day. And I bought GTA 5 when it launched way back in 2013. So yeah, I remember when GTA 5 launched, and I believe I was in the first 1 million people that ever owned GTA 5. I had just started college. It released, I want to say it released like September of 2013. It was like early September, mid-September of 2013, and I pre-ordered GTA 5 at my local Walmart where my university was at, and I didn't have any classes the day it launched, so I was just like, oh, this is awesome. I can go pick up GTA 5 and just play this game. And I should say that was the first Grand Theft Auto I ever got at launch, and it remains the only Grand Theft Auto where I completed the main story from start to finish. With GTA 5, I liked the story of GTA 5. I wasn't like crazy about it. You know, it wasn't like anything like Red Dead Redemption 2, which I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best stories in any video games, period. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, and this brings me to why, a big reason why GTA 6 is this high on my list is, if they can have a story like Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 6, the level of quality and just, you know, how massive the world is and how impressive and realistic and immersive the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, if they can do that with this game, which I'm fairly confident they will, then this is gonna be, you know, this is gonna be one of the greatest games of all time. If they can deliver on the story, that's the key. I'm confident they'll deliver on the gameplay, they'll deliver on the world, the exploration, because that's what Rockstar is really known for. They're known for being the kings of open world games. So yeah, I wasn't like completely in love with GTA 5 story. I wasn't like too into the characters, and I know they're criminals and whatever, but I don't know, I just, the story, the characters didn't really stick with me from that game, whereas Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite stories in any medium, period. And yeah, I loved Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's one of my favorite video games of all time. It's my favorite Rockstar game of all time. It's my favorite open world game of all time. So if they can deliver on a story front and, you know, make this impressive open world like they always do, which I'm sure they will, and this game's budget hasn't been confirmed, but people are speculating that the budget's gonna be around $2 billion. So that's absurd, and I understand that's part of that is, you know, the employees, the marketing. It's not directly involved with the making of the game, but I'm sure, you know, the making of the game alone is hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you play Red Dead Redemption 2, you can just tell how high budget that game was. And, you know, Red Dead Redemption is popular, and it's not as popular as Grand Theft Auto, but it's very popular too. And Rockstar is just making so much money, it's absurd. And yeah, I will be very curious to see how I feel about GTA 6 and the main story. That's what it's all about for me. I'm not a big multiplayer online person in general, so if I just want GTA 6 to have the quality of a story like a Red Dead Redemption 2, and if they can do that with their impressive open world making skills, and GTA 6 is going to be a heck of an experience. And I would imagine it's probably going to be coming out later in 2025. but it's been reported they've been working on this game for over a decade at this point. So I'll be interested to see what they've been cooking for a while now. And GTA 6 is going to be taking place in Vice City, which, you know, GTA 5 was in San Andreas. And, you know, so with GTA, they've always gone back and forth between Liberty City, San Andreas, which San Andreas is, you know, that's pretty much like Los Angeles, so the West Coast. I think they also mimic Vegas. And Liberty City is supposed to be like New York City, and Vice City is supposed to be like Miami. I would like to see they can't, you know, maybe have a new city in the fold. I know with the original Grand Theft Autos back on PlayStation 1, I believe one of the games, or maybe the first two entries, were both in London. I think it might have been just one of the games, but I never played the Grand Theft Autos on PS1. And I mean, Grand Theft Auto really didn't become mega popular until Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PS2. So yeah, for most of my history with Grand Theft Auto, I think about the times going to friends' houses and just fooling around in that open world sandbox. And, you know, Grand Theft Auto 5 I enjoyed, you know, fooling around in that sandbox and playing the story. But those games never impacted me as much as Red Dead 2. So I'm hoping we can, you know, this Grand Theft Auto will impact me as much as Red Dead 2. And yeah, this game is gonna be massive in terms of popularity, but also in terms of just like scope of the game and what you can do. And just, I mean, like I said before, no game developer wants to release around the time of GTA 6. Like, they want to steer clear. The industry is waiting for Rockstar to announce when GTA 6 will be launching, because man, if you launch near GTA 6, good luck, because they're probably going to eat your lunch and really hurt your sales. Like, I mean maybe if Call of Duty or NBA 2K wants to launch, it'll probably still be fine. But, you know, if you're some, like, I don't know, AA developer, yeah, no, don't launch near GTA 6, because it's gonna eat your lunch. But yeah, I mean, GTA 6 will be this big cultural moment. It's gonna transcend video games for sure. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this ambitious game. And yeah, I kind of just like will look forward to just, I think part of the hype is just because everyone's talking about it. I'm not gonna lie, I think when everyone's hyped, or a lot of people are hyped and a lot of people talking about this thing, it's kind of like a big cultural touchstone moment. So that will transcend video games. So I'm just looking forward to that coming out, and maybe it will turn out to be my new favorite open world game of all time, but we'll see. So yeah, coming in at number 2 is GTA 6. Let's get to my most anticipated game. Okay, so for my most anticipated game as of right now, it was just announced a few days ago at the Game Awards to close out the show, and that's Naughty Dog's next new IP. It's Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you know how big of a Naughty Dog fan I am. You know, I mean, you just look at my wall. I have The Last of Us Part 1, Part 2 posters. I have a Uncharted 4 poster over there off camera, and I want to get an Uncharted 2 poster. But point being is, Naughty Dog has been my favorite developer for over a decade at this point, really since Uncharted 2. And I've a lot of their games I believe are masterpieces, and they rank among my favorite video games of all time. I know with the last Naughty Dog game, Last of Us Part 2, that was one of the most divisive video games of all time. I know a lot of people love Last of Us Part 2, and a lot of critics love The Last of Us Part 2, and, you know, it was at the time the most awarded video game of all time. And a lot of Naughty Dog games are. They win a lot of Game of the Year awards, and they have a lot of awards. With The Last of Us Part 2, I know a lot of people, there was a vocal group of people that just did not like The Last of Us Part 2, and a lot of people that loved Last of Us Part 1 and one of their favorite games of all time, and just didn't jive with The Last of Us Part 2. And you know what? I understand a lot of people's reasons for not clicking with Last of Us Part 2. I understand a lot of their reasons, but I don't necessarily always, I don't agree with a lot of their reasons, I should say. And you know, I think a lot of people have their reasons that I understand but don't agree, and then there's people who I rather not get too deep into the culture wars discussion, but let's just say there's a lot of reasons that people have for not liking The Last of Us Part 2 that I don't understand and I don't agree with either. And you know, I think there are people that didn't like The Last of Us Part 2 and had, you know, legitimate reasons, and I understand why I didn't jive with them for whatever reason. For me, I think The Last of Us Part 2 is, the storytelling in that game is just next level, and it was an emotional roller coaster. It was more complex and had more layers to The Last of Us Part 1, and it's a longer experience than The Last of Us Part 1. It's the darkest video game I've ever played. It's a heavy game. I get that if that turned some people off. I certainly get that, and certain things that might have happened to certain characters, let's just put it that way, which you probably know what I'm referring to. I get why people were turned off from The Last of Us Part 2, but for me, playing that game on the second time, because the first time I was not sure how I felt about the story, but the second time the story really started to click with me and I started to understand it better. I had a greater context and understanding. But yeah, this is not a Last of Us Part 2 video, but I love talking about The Last of Us Part 2, and Last of Us Part 2 is one of my favorite video games of all time. I think the gameplay, part of the reason why I'm also just really excited about the next Naughty Dog games, I'm curious to see how they evolve with Intergalactic here, because I think The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay was the best gameplay Naughty Dog has ever had. Not to say the gameplay systems in Uncharted or The Last of Us Part 1 weren't fun or I didn't enjoy them, but I think The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay is next level in terms of anything Naughty Dog has done with combat before. It's just the animations and just how more versatile it felt, and the movability of your characters. You can go prone, you can dodge, and it just, I really enjoyed, especially on the higher difficulties, playing The Last of Us Part 2. And according to Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann, they're, you know, taking the gameplay for Intergalactic to another level. And you know, it's exciting. Naughty Dog is doing something new. It's the first new IP they've announced in 13 years. The first since they announced The Last of Us at the 2011 VGAs. So, I mean, just the thought of Naughty Dog, they're making a new IP. It's a sci-fi based game, which they haven't done sci-fi before. This is gonna be different. This is gonna be different from anything they've done before. And of course, we don't know too much at this point about the story, but you know, the trailer, the visuals looked amazing, as every Naughty Dog game looks. You know, the animations, attention to detail was pretty high quality, and I believe this will probably be a 2026, maybe a 2027 game. And it's funny, when I was watching this trailer for the first time the other night, you know, it was late at night, a work night. Let's just say I had a few adult beverages that night, and when we got to the trailer, I was like, okay, so when they first started the trailer, it's like, okay, this is sci-fi. I know Sony Santa Monica, the God of War developer, has been rumored to be working on a sci-fi game, but with Naughty Dog, there was conflicting rumors. Like, some rumors were stating, oh no, they're working on a fantasy game, and then there's other rumors saying they were working on a sci-fi game. It seemed like there was more rumors, though, from what I could see, that were saying, oh, Naughty Dog's new IP is a fantasy game. And when the trailer happened, I thought, you know, oh, this is exciting. Sony Santa Monica is finally announcing their new IP. You know, they're moving on from God of War, doing something different. And then I started watching the trailer and looking at the animations and just the art style. I'm like, this kind of looks like it could be a Naughty Dog game. And then, you know, they get to the end of the trailer and it's like, from the makers of Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, The Last of Us. It's like, and I just like jumped out of my seat, like, what? It was like, it was kind of anticlimactic because I was a little bit out of it at that point. It was just kind of late, and I was a little, tipsy. But no, I had a fun time on Thursday night watching the Game Awards. But yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise. I was 50-50. I know there was rumors going in that Naughty Dog may be announcing in their new IP, but there was nothing, solid. So it was kind of left in the air. But it's nice to finally be getting something new from Naughty Dog. And as much as I love The Last of Us, I'm glad we're not going right to A Last of Us Part 3. As a Naughty Dog fan, I feel like we need a break from The Last of Us. As much as I love it, and I think both games are masterpieces, whether you agree or disagree, we can agree to disagree respectfully. But I love Naughty Dog, and I look forward to every game they make. And yeah, and I know with The Last of Us Part 3, it's all but certain they're going to make a Last of Us Part 3. So after this game, and it's been heavily rumored that they're working on it now. And Neil Druckmann himself has even confirmed in a documentary that he had been writing a story. He came up with an idea for a story for Last of Us Part 3. I know I'm not really talking about too much about Intergalactic, but just the thought of, Naughty Dog, after 13 years, are announcing a new IP. It's going to be sci-fi, which I'm more excited now that I know that it's sci-fi versus fantasy. Like, I'm kind of fatigued from fantasy games. Like, there's so many fantasy games out there. I know there's a lot of sci-fi, but I feel like there's less sci-fi games, or less sci-fi games that I've played out there. So I'm curious to see, how Naughty Dog tackles sci-fi. And, there's been reports that Naughty Dog's really has been influenced by Elden Ring and Bloodborne, and in terms of how those games, the storytelling is done, how it's not like right in your face. And they thought about making The Last of Us Part 2 originally, like a melee only game. And they thought of it, they were inspired at the time by Bloodborne. So I'm curious to see if, maybe this is gonna be totally different from both a storytelling and gameplay perspective with Intergalactic, Heretic Prophet. So yeah, and watching that trailer, I did notice, I'm a huge Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fan. The actor Tony Dalton, who plays Lalo Salamanca, I may have just butchered that. He was one of the villains in Better Call Saul, but he was a great actor in that show, and he really played the role well. And I'm excited to see what looks like he's going to be in this game. So it looks like he's going to play a major role, because you see like 2 pictures of him, and I guess he's part of like this group called the Five Aces. So, and of course Troy Baker, who voiced Joel in The Last of Us, voiced Sam in Uncharted 4. He's gonna be in this game. He's already confirmed that. So I'm sure they'll have a great cast, and the game, I'm sure, will have good acting and animations and graphics. And I can't wait to see I want to see gameplay. That's what I really want to see of this game, because the end of that trailer with the sword, and it lit up with the red lights. It almost looked like audio tracks on the sword. That looked very cool, a very cool weapon. If we can get cool looking weapons like that, and maybe like laser guns, and this will be different. And I expect this to I'm not gonna say it's gonna be completely, lighthearted and pulpy, but I expect this not to be as heavy as a tone as The Last of Us. I expect this to be more of a pulpy sci-fi adventure, maybe more akin to the tone of like Uncharted 4, which I'm down for. I love Uncharted very much too. Uncharted 2 and 4, I believe, are masterpieces. I love all the Uncharted games, but Uncharted 2 and 4 especially. And yeah, I played Jak and Daxter 1 and 2. I haven't played 3 yet. I played a little bit of Crash Bandicoot, but Naughty Dog is never disappointed for me, and I think every one of their games they've made is excellent. So we can agree to disagree on where you think The Last of Us Part 2, how good of a game it is. And we can, we can be respectful, and I just want to have, good conversations, not toxic conversations that are just kind of frankly depressing and kind of exhausting. And I just, I welcome having good, respectful debates about games, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think Naughty Dog will deliver something special with this game, and whatever. I'll make my opinion on Intergalactic, and it's kind of a, I don't know how I feel about the title. It's kind of a mouthful, but I will make my own opinion and play the game. I expect to like it, but maybe it won't jive with. We'll see. But Naughty Dog has yet to disappoint, so that is my most anticipated game. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait for the future of video games and everything that's coming down the pipeline. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But yeah, I've been going for a while now. I would ask you, what is your most anticipated game right now? Where does certain games rank that I had in my rankings here for you? Do you fully agree with my opinions on Naughty Dog, or disagree? And let's be respectful. Let's have good conversations in the comment sections. But yeah, I enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you liked it. Let's have a nice conversation in the comment section, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.